I think we are live. Yes. Hey everyone, welcome to yet another session of TestMu 2024. I hope you're enjoying all the sessions and actively participating in different events. I am Shahzeb, Senior Product Marketing Manager here at Lambda Test, and would be your host for this session. Today, we have a very insightful topic that I'm sure will resonate with many of us. That is ticket to success, extracting testing insights from support tickets. So for this session, I am pleased to introduce our speaker, Lidia Barkanova, lead quality engineer at Infobip. With over a decade of experience across various tech roles, including tester, business analyst, product manager, and scrum master, Lidia has a wealth of knowledge to share. Today, she will dive into how customer complaints can be a powerful way in shaping your testing strategies. She will also share a practical example of how to visualize the analysis results and the success story of a team. However, before we start, here are a couple of points to remember. Feel free to drop your questions in the Q&A tab, and we'll address them during the Q&A session at the end. Also, all the sessions are recorded and will be available on the Lambda Test YouTube channel after the conference ends. So you can always revisit and access them. So please join me in welcoming Lidia Barkanova. Lidia, over to you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me and a nice introduction. It's an honor to be here, even though it's like 6:30 here. And after a long week, it's a little bit, it's nice. Okay, I will not be joking about it, sorry. Let me just share the screen and then we will start. And if you don't see it, please scream. I see the chat, so you can write there if something is wrong, but I hope that everything is fine. Okay. Oh my God. Okay. Actually, before we start, I would like to take a minute of self-reflection and ask you one question. How do you feel when you see the tickets on the support board? If you're okay with it, just drop any emoji or a couple of words in the chat, just to see how different it usually is. We all have been here for 3 days already. It's the third one, and a lot of talks were there teaching us how to prevent the tickets and how to write perfect tests not to let this happen. But we all know that tickets are there anyway, so I'm wondering, how do you feel about it? Do you feel guilty for having issues and for not reporting them before a customer's date, maybe? Or maybe you feel sad or demotivated or exhausted because you've been working so hard and you've been testing the product in and out, but still clients ended up on your support board asking for help or reporting something. Or maybe you're confused about how it happened. Whatever your reaction is, whatever you feel, it is legit. Of course, there is no correct or incorrect answer there. All feelings are allowed and welcome. What is interesting and what I would like to highlight is the fact that we all have the same object in front of us, the support board full of tickets. And at the same time, we react totally differently. You see, somebody is guilty, somebody is just overwhelmed, somebody has a big variety of emotions depending on what the issue is. And same happens to our customers then when they look at our products. People are different, like we are different. We perceive things in different ways and we react accordingly. And what is easy and obvious maybe for one person can be totally complex and cumbersome for another. When one person can stuck in the middle of their journey for no reason, another can quickly grasp the use case and how to operate with the product and be super happy. So with all that said, this basically leads us to one simple truth. Regardless how good the product is, there will be always tickets from customers. Like it's life. That's our reality, unfortunately. Or fortunately. Depends how you look at it again. And let's just see what can we do with it, and let's accept it and see how we can learn from the tickets and make our lives better by making processes and products better. A couple of words about myself. After this nice introduction in the beginning, I will not go into these serious topics. So here's a picture which I'm drawing, since I really like drawing and I also love my cat. That's why I put everything important here. And I've been for many years in testing. I had different roles. I worked in different companies, different countries. And as mentioned, I was taking different roles like testers, QA, quality engineer, you name it, whatever. However, I have to admit that I only learned what actually quality engineer is only 3 years ago when I changed jobs. So after 7 years of working, I finally realized, what am I doing actually? And for a long time, I was thinking, wait a second, I lost my mouse. So for a long time, I was thinking that quality engineers should just write test cases and verify the implementation against the spec. And I was doing that. I was writing the test cases. I was executing them in like manually or running automation. I was reporting issues if the expected result was different from the actual. And this is all true. That's what they've been telling us in universities. I was that lucky person who had testing as a discipline in the university. I don't know how it is now, but back then when I was studying, it was a rare case. And they were teaching us that the role of a tester is just to find all the deviations between the product documentation, product specification, the requirements, and the actual implementation. And this is true, but it turns out that quality engineer is so much more than that, because we not just report bugs, we are aiming to answer so many other questions, like, are we building the right product? Will it fill the purpose? Will it solve the customer's pains? Who are the stakeholders? What matters actually here? Are we building the product right? Do we have efficient process? Do we have proper tooling? And many, many more questions. Yeah, we report bugs, but they're not just the deviations from the specification. They're actually symptoms of problems. This is a very famous quote, I would say. I don't know how many years ago this was said, but this is the cornerstone. Bugs can tell us so much about what and how we might do to improve our products or development process. We just need to look closer. Where to look at? Obviously, at all of the places where people come for us with the help, with the ask for help. And it can be, let's say, Zendesk or any other tool where customer support operates and creates tickets as a result of their conversation with the customer who called them, let's say. It can be Jira or any other tool where all like internal people from the company are operating. Tickets can be created by testers, by developers, by product managers, basically by everyone who has access to the tool. It can also be Slack or any other messenger. If you have support channels anywhere, it's quite common, I would say, to have a support channel. Please adjust all of these tools to the contexts and to your setup, where you work. Just think where people can reach out to you. That's the most important. But even if people don't tell us what's wrong, we still can observe, because people might voice out their problems and they will go create your ticket, they will report, they will scream. But there is also another type of personality of people who are just, just accept it. They struggle, but they don't report anything. They stay silent. For example, that's what I'm experiencing almost, okay, not every day, but sometimes when I test a feature and I need to go to some third-party portal with a bunch of settings, bunch of tabs, windows, somewhere where the territory is not that well known as my own product, quite often I struggle to get my, how to say, job done there. But I don't report anything. I'm just struggling silently. And for such cases, we have different tools. For example, one of them is Full Story. It's the tool which I also saw the first time, I think 3 or 4 years ago. It's a session replay tool where you can basically see the whole interaction of the user with your product. It's like screen recording, but with all of the sensitive parts, how to say, masked, protected. You see where people stop, but you don't see which exactly data they're typing, probably. This is very insightful sometimes. It's very interesting how people are using the product. Another tool which can help us here is Amplitude, or any other tool where you can log and trace events which happens. For example, let's imagine that there is a person who logs into the Gmail and wants to send email. So on every click on every button, like user opened the page, that's an event. User clicked the button, this is an event. User, I don't know, clicked send button, this is also event. And this sequence of events allows us to see the customer journey and to identify where the person got stuck or confused, like where they dropped. This is also super important to see the adoption of the features. And when usually you see that person was successfully getting to the very end, and suddenly something stopped in the beginning and you stopped receiving, I don't know, emails and sent successfully event, it's an indicator that something is wrong. You can also use Grafana dashboards for monitoring, and if you have different logs and how to say, tools for observability, it is good to visualize them and see, like green and red buttons, everything is blinking, you can see the spike of errors. This will also tell us that people are having issues with the product. But let's come back to the tickets maybe, since this is the topic of the talk. And this is also probably the easiest thing where we can start, since we don't need to set up the whole monitoring, no coding here. We already can work with something that we have on the table in front of us. The number of tickets can be overwhelming, but if you have the right structure and the right framework on how to deal with them, it's not that scary. So first, let's define the categories and cluster the data by some categories. It can be priority, severity. It can be level of support, like was the ticket closed by the customer support or was the ticket escalated to developer. We can also we can also cluster the ticket by number of affected clients. This is also very important, since if the issue is isolated and affects only one account, it is not that critical if the server is down. And there's many other categories, like time to resolve or corrective action is very interesting also. It is basically what was actually done to close the ticket, how the problem was solved. This will help us to identify the repetitive actions later. But I wanted to focus your attention on maybe 3 or 4 categories that we in my team use the most, and they prove the most valuable insights for us. First one is intent. Like, why was the ticket created in the first place? Because not every ticket is a bug. Maybe this is an insight for some PMs or some other people who are not closely working with the customer voice, let's say. But tickets can also be symptoms of other problems, not bugs. Let me explain. Like, clients may actually struggle to understand something in the product. So the product is fully functional. The way you wanted it to be, you developed it, it is working, everything is perfect, but it is just unusable. And maybe our documentation is not correct, it's not perfect, it doesn't help people to use the product, or maybe our UX is not that good and could be improved in these places. So from the developer side, from the engineering side, it's perfect, product is working, but still it doesn't serve the purpose. It can also be not a bug, but a feature request, because people can also reach out to us and ask to do some kind of actions which our platform or product does not provide yet. Maybe they want some reports on how they activated something in the product or what they did. They want some analytics, which we don't expose. There is like many cases which we can imagine here. And another example of the intent is notification. This is mostly being used in Slack, I would say, from my experience, and Jira maybe. If we know that there will be some maintenance or database upgrade maybe, usually people write such things in advance, informing everyone that, hey, on this date, at this time, we will be upgrading something. Please watch out and keep an eye on the spikes of errors. This is also information that is coming to us, and we need to process it. The second category is product component. Imagine that you're driving. This is my favorite, maybe, metaphor in the presentation. And suddenly you see some indicator on the panel. Everything is super stressful, but the indicator helps you to identify where the problem is. If it's a flat tire, it's pretty obvious. You know what happened, you know how to fix it. But if it's a check engine, nope. It's quite complicated. It can be so many different things. But at least it shows you where the issue is. Most likely, if it's check engine, it's in the engine. So it helps you to narrow down the your investigation to the proper place. And next category. So before category, I forgot to say that it's, if you label by product component, it doesn't necessarily have to be a component. It can be feature, it can be service, it can be anything. Depends on how you classify and cluster from the technical side. Whatever helps you, use that. Another thing is quality criteria. Maybe it's more testing related, since it's quality criteria and not that many people know what it is. Basically, quality criteria dimensions in which people determine the value of the product. It can be capability, like can the product perform the valuable function? It can be usability. Is the product easy to use? It can be security, reliability. How can you trust the product? There is a huge list of these quality criteria. I will drop the link in chat. Maybe I even have it. Let me test. Let me test with you together. So that's very helpful thing to see in which aspects our product is requires some attention. Then, after we have labeled all of the tickets, we can visualize and identify the patterns, because now the data is marked, we can get something out of it, and it's pretty easy. For example, we can have, we can have the chart showing us what type of the issues we're creating, were clients coming to us with consultations, or they were reporting actual bugs, or maybe they had feature requests mostly. So this is some kind of indicator. We can see which component is affected the most and what is the trend over the time. We can see simple distribution of tickets by the importance, by the priority. We can see which features were most affected, and like many charts can be built depending on the context and on the needs. So what you want to learn, you think about it, and then build the charts that will answer your questions. What is important here is that out of the mess and bunch of tickets, we now see the trends and ratios. And it helps us to involve people who can actually do something about it. For example, if we notice the spike of usability issues, we can ask designers to look at those. If we saw a bunch of feature requests, that's perfect place to invite the product owner to see. Maybe clients are asking something that we would like to implement and earn money in the end. And or if there were consultations, it may be a sign that our documentation is not clear enough, and we could invite tech writer here to help us. If there were architecture performance problems, obviously we will go to developers, architects, ask to take a look what is happening and schedule some, hopefully, improvements. And by involving people into the issue analysis, we share the context. We make sure that everybody is on the same page in regards what is happening with our product and its quality and how the product is actually used by customers. We actually shorten the feedback loop since each role directly works with the source of customer voice, almost directly with the customers. So there is no broken phone, it's information from the first hands. After each of the role process their bucket of tickets, it is important to share the results with the team. Which patterns did we notice? Were there any repeated issues? If yes, then what were they? Ideal would be to propose some actions and get those issues avoided in the future. And it's a good chance to pull into the backlog something that is not coming from the top. So this is how we can build the backlog together as a team. It is also important to share this information in maybe company level meeting. That's what we did with my team here in Infobip, where I work now. We got a place at big meeting, quarterly business review, where a lot of people are coming, like dozens, maybe even hundreds, to see how we as a product operate, what are our financial metrics, what we delivered, what is on the roadmap, what are the issues we are having, what is happening in engineering and the products. Like from all of the sides, people are sharing the information. And we got there to share the information about the quality. I consider it super big win. Okay, that's all good. But what's in it for testers? If issue analysis is the work which requires all roles to be included, what is it for us? Well, let's remind ourselves what we do when we are testing. Let's remind ourselves the core of testing strategy. We gather all of the product and process information in one place. It can be design specification, it can be different ways of communicating, like Slack channels. It can be design mockups, architectural diagrams, whatever you can grasp from the space around you. We learn which teams are involved, what is the release plan, who is building the feature, or whom we are building the feature, like do we have an actual client who is waiting for it, what the feature should do, and like all of this information is the base where we start from. Then we identify product elements, which are basically places and aspects of the product which can be affected when we introduce new features. And those product elements help us to identify and to keep in mind all of the things that we should have processed during our testing. We also do risk assessment. We think what might go wrong and how much wrong. We estimate the probability of this and try to come up with the mitigation plans. We identify quality criteria to figure out what should we focus our testing on, what matters here. Do we pay a lot of attention to the UI, or maybe we are building some POC where it's important to test just the functional part and the fancy interfaces will be added later. Then, knowing all of this, we can plan our testing activity. We can start with preparation of test data. Like it can be, for example, certain accounts, feature flags, automated tests, even post-collection if you want. Anything that you're going to use during testing is here. Basically, it can be charters or test cases or scenarios, checklists, whatever you can think of, we kind of prepare. And how the issue analysis helps us is quite obvious. Repeated issues and typical affected places in the product are the perfect helpers to do a proper risk analysis. It's like 6:30, I'm dying here. Also, types of testing can be defined based on quality criteria. So if we care about how robust the system is, and if we roll out some feature that is supposed to handle big loads, of course, we will schedule the performance test and load test. And the testing insights will also help us to define the testing priorities. Because if we know, for example, that the issue happened last quarter 5 times, we will probably take a look there, especially if we know that we are touching this place in the code. And we will prioritize this. Maybe it makes sense to test it first. I mean, when I'm saying first, I mean only after the happy past scenario, because it happened to me. There is one story, side story. Some time ago, I was testing a feature when we were introducing personalization into the messenger, so into sending messages. When somebody writes hi first name, it will be in the end, hi Lidia. Do you still see the screen? Because my office is out of power. Looks like that. Okay, sorry. So I was testing that interesting case, and I just knew that we will have the issue there. Just do it. And of course, when the feature was released, I got the code to test. I ran to test this use case, and I was right. I was so happy, like, yes, there is a bug. See, like, not that I told you, but I was very proud that my risk assessment worked well, and we found the issue. And I totally forgot to test the main function that the messages are actually going through. So personalization wasn't working, but we also broke the sending. And I was like, oh my God. But anyway, this is actually it. I wanted to say that I cannot now change the slide because something happened to my interesting. Okay. Now I know that TV is off, but I can still operate. Let's make a quick summary and wrap it up. First of all, just know that tickets will be always here with you, and it's business as usual. It's okay. It's our life. Not all tickets are bugs, and quality is shared responsibility. You hear it a lot, and this exercise just is a perfect example of that. And also, if you do it not just once, but regularly, you'll reveal the huge treasure. You will have a quality product, you will have happy customers, happy development team, because they don't need to answer the support tickets. They don't have to troubleshoot anymore. But that's it. If you have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer. Sorry about the technical issues. Shasha, are you here?
Yes. So thank you so much, Lydia, for such an enlightening session. Right. So it's really inspiring to see how something as daunting as customer complaints can actually become a magic potion for improvements. Right. So insights on making customer feedback actionable and impactful will certainly help us all in our testing journeys. Now we will take a few questions. I can already see a lot of interesting questions flowing in. So what is the best outcome you got so far from doing customer tickets analysis? Share us the best real life success.
I would say that the whole procedure is a success, since we're talking all together as a team and we're working on the product quality with everyone. And each role is involved. It's not just poor developers who are troubleshooting. It's not just testers who are doing something in a, in their dark corner. It's a joint activity. And I would say that the outcome is maybe personal, since you see the decrease of issues. Actually, this is the best feeling when you see quarter over quarter that the issues are decreasing. And when you see those trends, it means that you prepared your testing properly. You did it good. You developed the right thing, and you didn't miss anything important. You don't have recurrent issues, or you have less of them. But yeah, I would say maybe it is my personal perception, but that's the most important here for me.
Right. Thank you so much, Lydia. We can take another question.
How can we effectively turn customer complaints into
Actionable insights? And how can you provide an example of how to visualize these results?
I believe I just did show a couple of graphs. And what we do in my team, we're gathering the whole, in all of the insights into one, let's say, like quality report or something. The way we call it doesn't really matter, but it shows the overview of what happened to our product during quarter, because honestly, the way of doing this analysis, it's quite time consuming. If you have a big scale company, big product, a lot of users, you will have a lot of information to analyze and a lot of feedback. And we do it on a quarterly basis. So we have these reports, which we are bringing to the managers and upper to fill the backlog together. It doesn't necessarily that customer complaint is an actionable insight for the testing strategy. It doesn't have to be a complaint, but each ticket you're having on the board is the help to prepare with the strategy and with your testing.
Thank you. I think the next one is quite interesting. How do you differentiate between genuine product issues and customer misunderstandings when analyzing support tickets?
Mm, I really wonder what is genuine support issue, product issue, since customer misunderstanding is an issue. And if we have bad UX, it is an issue. If we need to train our people to operate with our software, it is an issue, unless it's very specific software, or like rockets or something. Usually we should have it's understandable, this good UX, all of these accessibility trends and everything. So I would say that I don't differentiate. Every ticket is a source of information.
Okay. The next one is, have you faced resistance to using customer complaints to test insights? If so, how did you overcome it?
Mm, resistance, it was a little bit difficult to involve product managers maybe and developers into doing it, since it takes time. But after the first iteration, it showed that we just need to do it. It worked. We did it once. Yes, it was painful a little bit. It was sometimes unclear how to label a ticket and how to identify the root cause, because it was we have bunch of services, and at which level should you stop? Like, it's unclear. Okay, is it bad UX, or is it some component is different from what we use in another place, and then this component is looking differently, then maybe it doesn't fill the purpose. It's really complex topic. But I would say that the most resistance was from other people in the first time.
Got it. I think you have already covered most of the questions, but still, if you'd like to throw some more light on it, what are your tips to integrate the support ticket analysis to the testing strategy?
I would say I kind of covered it again, but the tip is not to forget that you have this source, because usually when you prepare the test strategy, you're focused more on product documentation, you're focused on what are we building for, what is the deadline, what do I need to test, what do I focus on. And quite often we forget about what is the big picture. Do customers actually use this feature? Do we need to take a look at that service which was broken 5 times in the last, I don't know, months? And that would be my main advice, is to keep the big picture always in front of you.
Thanks, Lydia. One more question we have. Can fully automated processes to extra insights from support tickets provide enough deep or reliable information for leadership to enable changes where needed?
I would ask for clarification what is fully automated process, but if it is meant that AI will go through my Jira and all of the sources and will provide me insights, then the answer is maybe in 5 years, not now, because we can classify, we can probably with the certain amount of confidence identify which component was affected, which service, but what is the actual reason and what needs to be done to avoid the issue in the future, that's not on the automation at this point.
Got
And
it.
also enable changes when needed, that's also a big question.
Right. Okay, I think we can take one more. I think most of the questions we have already covered during the session. So what's the best method to prioritize higher priority tickets in queue to pull actionable insights? Automation, manual review, etc.
um, I would say the mix of both, since if you see high priority tickets, you can take them first. It's not an issue. But what is important is not all the tickets that are created and marked as high priority are actually important. That's the bigger problem. You can just filter by important, critical, and blocker, go through them, but it doesn't mean that your insights that you will get from it are more important than if you go through minor or medium issues.
So I think we're done with the questions. So thank you so much, Lydia, once again for answering the questions. And to everyone attending, thank you for joining us. If you have more questions, you can put them on the Lambda Test community, the link to which is already given in the chat. Also check out the other session lined up for today. And if you haven't already, do share about the favorite session or learnings from this session on the social media with the hashtag #TestMuConf so that we can select the winners and give away prizes. Please show us love and support on the social media. Thank you once again for joining. Have a great
Thank
day.
you. Bye-bye.